What's up, it's Serum from On Point Samples, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can make mid-intro type kicks 100% from scratch in Serum. I'll make sure to go slow so you can copy my settings and do what I'm doing, but you can also follow along by downloading the template, presets and some extras with the link below. No email required, you click a button and it's on your computer. And I'll show you some macros to assign to certain things to really change the kick instantly, like this. I'm gonna open an initialized preset and open A and B. Make sure you're in 150 or whatever BPM you want to make your kick in. And the first thing that you have to understand about these kicks is that we're gonna use Serum the same way we would use our playlist. You split up your kick in a punch, a crunch, reverb, whatever. So try to visualize that when you make any kick in Serum. Oscillator A will be our punch, so I'm gonna use a sine wave, which will result in a clubby EDM kick, and oscillator B, which will be our crunch. Make sure that oscillator B is down 2 octaves, so it is a bass. Now let's use LFO1 like this and kind of make it look like a transient and then have it follow like this for a volume shape. Put that on envelope and assign that to the level of A. Now do the same thing for LFO2 like this, envelope, and then kind of just have it open up the level of B. The macros that I'll assign on these are very simple. LFO1, I just want to assign it to the point X here and have it start here. In the matrix, I assign it to unipolar, so it just goes one way, and I just make sure it doesn't cross like half a beat. So now, I can shorten my punch if I like. Same thing I'll do for LFO2. I'll make sure that the X-axis moves, unipolar, have it start somewhere here, and then maximum have it go like there. But when I do that, I want to make sure that I also open the Y point. Otherwise, it's very contained and I don't like that. So unipolar again, and then that will go up too. So the final thing I'll add is a modulation to the curve. Notice how this is like this, right? I want it down. So it plays like this. So when I'm here, I want it like this. And then when I open it up, I want it down. So find that curve here. And just make sure that it's unipolar so it stays like that, right? And that's a bit too steep for me, so let's do it like this. Now I can blend the punch and crunch together. Now we're gonna create a punch from A. Just use LFO3 on envelope, make it go down, and then add it to the coarse pitch. Disable B to listen. Cool. And instead of playing around with this, I'm just going to assign another LFO on top. You can do whatever you like, but this works for me because I have a bit more control. Drop it again. And now I just need to click on my punch. So I use LFO5 all the way down, just on envelope, just like 3 and 4, and then add that to the coarse pitch again. But that's too low for me. So I click Shift, Alt, click to make it unipolar, or go to the matrix and then click on unipolar here as well. But this is too high for me. So I take it down an octave so that when I play the bass, relative to it, the punch sounds good. So let's play around with the macros for the click. First of all, I want to control the output of the click. So I put it on aux source, which basically opens the modulation of 5 on the pitch. And finally, I want to change the speed of my click. So I change the click to hertz. Starts here and it goes all the way to a very fast one. So now we have punch blend, crunch blend, click amount, click speed. Some pretty important macros to start off with your kick. Let's talk about the routing. Oscillator A will go into bus 1, but not into the filter or main. Otherwise it gets duplicated. Same goes for B, put it on none and bus 2. In the effects, we've now split it up in 1 and 2. Once you're done with routing, there's one more important thing to talk about, which is the phase randomization of the oscillators. Those need to go to 0, because this is basically the area in which Serum can randomly select the phase point of your oscillator. This will change every time, and if it's not consistent, your kick will sound different, and you'll ask yourself why. It's just because the phase changes, and that influences everything. Especially with a lot of distortion in the later stages, it becomes very prominent. In the main channel, first thing you want to add is a compressor. And this might contradict the thing I just said, but we're going to put on a multi-band compressor, not single. And this will immediately play around with the phase, but that's okay. Just make sure you're not playing your final kick in your drop or whatever using Serum. Just render what you have in Serum and the phase stays in place. So quickly check if the phase is right and then you should be good to go. So we're going to take down the threshold and that will remove the downwards compression, leaving us only with expanding upwards compression, and you can enable that by clicking on below. Because as you can hear, it's not doing much. But now, it is. So I'm also adding a soft clipper at the end, just to clip it properly. And now we're going to beef up the crunch. So go to bus 2, and we're just simply going to use a very simple distortion. Tube works. But don't make it a square, just something like that, you know? Now, in the main channel, you can add more distortion. Hard clipper is probably what you want to do at this stage, just to blend the punch and crunch together properly, and you can open it all the way. But just make sure that you're kind of containing the punch. And this sounds a bit too aggressive maybe. You can hear that there's a lot of dirt in the punch, and what you can do there is just go to the punch channel and maybe add some distortion on soft clip. Especially with the right amount, it will kind of contain the punch a bit more. So having done this, it's time to make the kick a bit more alive. And the two filters that will get you there are the diffuser filter as well as the combs filter. And you want to put this after your hard clipper. Let's disable the diffuser for now and focus on the combs. I'm taking down the mix of the combs filter here, but I don't want this to hit on the punch. So what I'm doing is just simply taking my LFO1, which is the volume of my punch, and putting this on reverse on the mix. So that means that when the punch is playing, it's 0 and it opens up in the crunch. This will create a very good blend between the punch and crunch, and also add that sort of like interesting character on the crunch only. So I add some resonance to let it ring a bit more, and I'm gonna pan it, which sounds counterintuitive, because as you can hear, it really splits up the channel, but I'm gonna use a utility afterwards, and I put the bass on mono here, which should fix a lot of the phase issues. This effect sounds really cool, especially when you go low, because it lets the combs filter ring out, and then just contain it a bit with the resonance. And then you want to play around with the diffuser filter, which we increase the stages of, and just put the cutoff at a comfortable range, and add some drive. The cool thing about the diffuser is that you can change the cutoff and kind of play around with the phase and how blurry and kind of phasey it sounds. Something that we can add at this point is reverb in the crunch as well. I like to use any of these modes, and it depends on your kick, but let's just use the Hall mode for now and just add a LFO that opens up during the kick. I take down the modulation because it sounds chorusy, and I take it to envelope. Then what I like to do always as well is use an extra LFO on envelope and just make it look somewhat like this. And we're not going to assign that to individual oscillators, but we just take it to the matrix and we assign it to the global main tuning, which is just the tuning of the whole plugin. We can make our kick a lot more pitchy, lasery if you like, and you can also shape it like this. So I increase the effect a little bit, and we can control the output right here, and we can also control the reverb output right there. So now we can kind of do reverb and we mega click or something. At this point, you can also improve the mix of your kick. You can take an equalizer for the compressor, and you can use that to kind of remove a bit of the mud in the 300 Hz range. One thing that we didn't talk about is using filters in oscillator B. And what you could do is taking your oscillator B, and instead of routing it to bus 2, just get it into your filter right here, make sure B is selected, and then make the filter not go to main, but to bus 2. So we just added an extra stage for the crunch only that goes back into bus 2. And now you can find a filter that has some sort of multi-purpose, because those are most interesting. And the reason we're going to use multi-filters is because they're going to allow us to do multiple filter effects at once. For example, a high pass and a band pass. So what you can do now is just take down the mix and it will kind of give us a very cool movement at 2 places. And I can just use that with a new LFO that I'm going to assign to both the frequency here and to the cutoff on an envelope. And blending this one with that one is going to result in a lot of like frequency changes that sound very cool. But don't do it with the mix open because you're eating the sub away from your crunch. If you reduce the mix, it's just going to add an edge. It's that movement that really helps get the kick together. Another cool trick is that you can add a filter here, just put it on diffuser again, but don't add any stages. You can kind of just shift the phase of the kick slightly and just completely change how it sounds. Look at this. It's a small effect, but it helps kind of dial in the kick if you like. So when I listen to this, I feel like the highs of the crunch are a bit too much. So I just add a filter to the bus here and I roll them off. And then you can go overboard with your effects. So what you can change in a macro, for example, would be the diffuser with the lots of stages and also change the combs filter right here. So now you have 2 things changing at the same time, right? Now, some positions of this macro right here are going to be better than others, but just find one that works really well. And by using the blending of these punch and crunches here, you can create different kicks as well. How you can upgrade this kick is just like add more filters, add more distortion, and now add a lot of stuff to see where we can get. I would, for example, add a diode somewhere here. And I would maybe add a filter in front of those distortions here and see what happens if I, for example, add a all-pass filter. Take the mix down. I like how that sounds on the punch actually, and this is kind of the experimentation process. You don't have to follow rules anymore. The setup is very simple. And I like the all-pass filter because I am just gonna try to kind of make like a transient-y thing like this. And I'll just only have this play on my punch. Like so. Nice and clean. Open the mix on the all-pass, like so. Final thing that you can do on the oscillator here as well is using a warp mode to kind of just play around and see what happens. Especially the asymmetrical ones are great to get a bit more of that like crunch into your crunch. And then also playing around with the wavetable is a great idea. Like this doesn't sound good yet, but what if you play around? Add an EQ. That's a cool sound, right? You experiment and you play around, and let's improve it more. So this whole chain, I'm gonna add something afterwards because I like how this sounds. So I'm not changing anything in front of or during my chain afterwards. Multiband. Distort this. Equalize it. Play with that macro here. And suddenly you have a completely different kick. So I was going a bit fast at the end there, but the reason I did is to show you that you have the setup in place and then you introduce more filters and distortions and you really play around with it. And then introduce filters and distortions like there are no rules, because you will find there are so many kicks you can get out of this plugin. And if you keep processing them, you can kind of go to something that's very, very usable. Make sure you download all of this for free with the link below. No email required, with some extras, of course. I threw in some extra presets. And let me know in the comments what else you want to see in the future. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.